Wrestling Sheet Radio. I'm your host, ProWrestlingSheet.com editor-in-chief, Ryan Satin, and I'm sitting in a different chair for those of you watching the video, and that's because we've got the full...
Don't adjust your set.
Yeah, I feel weird because I'm not looking like...
I feel like I should be impersonating you right now.
Yeah. Like,
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Ryan Satin here.
But I am here with my co-host, the full old school Sheet podcast team, Jamie Iovine.
Hey, guys.
Elijah Bates.
Hello, guys.
And... drum roll, please.
Really? Wow.
I was hoping you were going to do this. I kind of
But there's going to be an actual one I'm going to throw in there.
I feel like that's what we used to do.
I was, you know what? I thought driving here, I was like, he might do it. And he's in. And I'm glad I was right.
Drum roll, please, Fernando. The other man. Flake Maverick. Shane McMahon. Pete Dumb. Yes, the man of 1004 nickname, Kevin Silva.
That was beautiful.
And it's been such a long time that we've done it that there's been new wrestlers that have come.
Yeah.
So
I stressed to Eli today when we were coming up with these, I was like, well, we should probably do things that like we know for sure we didn't already do in the past. It has to be names that we for sure didn't
I feel
cover
like
in
we
the past.
probably did shame McMahon at some point.
No.
I didn't remember that one.
I don't know. That we did a lot.
I also liked we both had an Oni Lorcan one, but mine was Boney Orkin.
Yeah, of course.
His was
Lonely Orkin.
Lonely Orkin.
That's better.
Yeah, we had to go to Guy.
I wrote the cuddle monster amongst men.
I liked that one, but I was almost positive we had to have done that.
Never
one.
did.
No, I would have.
Was Braun not a thing
No.
when we were doing
No.
it, dude?
No.
There's a long
Also,
time ago.
He
Has it
was
been
the
that
black.
long?
He was the black sheep of the Wyatt family. Tops.
Yeah,
Crazy.
kind of fucked up that we're it's a video podcast now, and we can't get Fernando on the damn camera.
Oh no, he's behind the camera.
He's
sucks. Like,
using
he's-
the camera. How do you think it's standing
Yeah,
there?
duh.
true.
Obviously, Kevin.
I really
we need
want-
someone to help us behind
You've
the
got
camera.
a steady hand, my friend.
This guy.
You've got a
Right.
steady hand.
You know what?
Not television works.
Is insane about the Hardy Boy sticker that you have on your.
What is insane about it?
I also have that sticker. It's just that it is also coming off of my luggage at the same point.
Dude, why is this
At
sticker
the
suck?
same, it sucks.
That's bad
And this is
adhesive.
the most recent sticker that I have on
the
here.
Rey Mysterio one's giving you problems too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are these from the shop?
Man, no, it's Slam Crate.
Yeah.
Slam Crate.
Come on.
Get your shit
Your
together.
adhesive
Slam
is
Crate.
Yeah.
lacking.
Are they a
I love you
sponsor?
guys. but
Thanks,
come on.
Trump.
No, they're
Are
not
they
a sponsor.
Yeah, get your shit together,
Sponsor
Slam
is
Crate.
Adam
it's-
Carolla
but it-
Show. It's
but-
time to celebrate.
But it's crazy to me because it's literally coming off at that point.
It's weird.
Like right there.
Slam Crate, come on. Get the glue better on your damn stickers.
Whatever
That's
you
a new.
use.
That's a new slogan.
That's their new slogan.
Get your glue together on your
That's
damn
why you gotta go to
stickers.
Pro Wrestling Crate. That's why the Pro Wrestling Crate is really where it's at.
I don't
Why,
want to
Kevin?
No, I don't mean to
Pro
shit on
Wrestling
Slam Crate
Crate
because
is
they've done
Pro
stuff with us
Wrestling
before.
Great.
But
He talked over the slogan of Pro
No.
Wrestling Crate.
Pro Wrestling Great.
There we go.
Before the show gets started, too, I just want to also say that I came up with a really, really bad nickname that I was hoping that Ryan would use, and
Which
it was
one was it?
Leo Toothbrush.
I was not gonna
I was
use
like,
Leo
please
Toothbrush.
say, I hope that he gives me
What?
a ha ha ha
I
ha
made
to
no
this.
that was the most
Well, I was going to go
That
with
was
Leo
the
Brush.
most courtesy ha 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 I've maybe ever given you. Here's the other ones we had. The Cuddle Monster Among Men, the Alrighty, the other man, the author
Are you
of-
right-handed?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Boom.
the author of Panera,
all rights.
Wow.
the Drawer Raider, which I like that one. I knew just me would like that one though.
The Drawer
Velveeta Dream.
I'm wearing a Velveteen Dream shirt today. So.
Velveeta
See,
Dream
it would have been
be great.
so spot on.
Brie Fella, which I am almost positive you pitched Brie Fella so many times
been a
that I
lot
didn't
of
do it
them,
then. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure that was the leftover one
Yeah.
from a few years ago.
Well, you try and reuse what didn't get used in the first place.
That and Dean Ambrosia were like your two
Yeah.
go-tos of like, well, we have Dean Ambrosia, and I'd be like, no.
We could always go with Dean Ambrosia, like I said
Hey,
5 months ago.
You know what, though? It's great for Thanksgiving.
I know. I saw some. I loved it. I forget the name off the top of my head, but someone on Twitter said that they were so happy that we were all going to be here. They wanted to hear Sailor Vince. And they wanted to hear Broken Jamie
shit.
too. And I was like, man,
I feel like
that takes me back.
It does.
like
But you know
Ryan.
what? Like, I think my favorite impression that anybody ever did on the show was whenever Jamie impersonated Jake the Snake, and that was only like a couple months ago.
Clams Casino? No, Clams Casino
No,
was
no,
longer than a few
but
months
there's
ago.
because you told me I was good.
Oh,
It was like I remember it
No, the
because
Hall
I
of
almost
Fame
fainted.
speech.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. No, my favorite Jamie impression was Jeff Hardy doing promos.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you can't unhear it.
I can't unhear it every time.
Now every time he does it, now you're like, holy shit, he did it again.
Every Jeff Hardy promo ever since then, I hear it and it cracks me up. I
I have no out, none.
Every time it gets me. Well, it's good to have all three of you guys back. It's nice to have the full crew here. This story was a weird one this week, and Jamie, you were heavily involved.
We're gonna kick off with it.
Let's kick it off with Eminem. Yeah, I found it the most interesting story of the week, and obviously it's not that interesting because it's something that's not actually happening. But
the second I saw it on a website, and I was like, that looks like not a legit website.
Well, so
it's like, holy shit, WWE got somebody that's not Flo Rida or Pitbull. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I was also confused. Like, oh, relevant artist, really like famous, who's going to be on Smackdown? That's cool. He's gonna be Fightful first report this week that
on Smackdown.
That Eminem was
not even Raw, like Smackdown.
Well, because they claimed that it was going to be in conjunction with the move to Smackdown, or the Fox, the move to Fox.
Okay,
which doesn't make any sense because why would Eminem want anything to do with Fox?
Why would he not like Fox? You know more about Eminem than me. Is he anti-Fox?
Well, Fox is mostly right. Well, Fox News, I guess, but Fox as a whole.
No, but Fox Sports and the Fox that you're referring to are still members of the Murdoch family of companies, though, too. It's part of what didn't get sold to Disney.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it would have been cool, and having him kind of like curate the soundtrack to WWE 2K20. But it's funny,
which when you really list it, it's asking quite a bit of an artist who doesn't even like to tour. You know.
Does he's not a big tour guy?
No, he hates touring. He only does one-off like European dates and stuff like that. He doesn't tour the States. He hasn't toured the States in shit. I can't even remember.
He was at Coachella though.
That's not a tour.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, to be fair,
it's a 2-day. It's a 2-week tour.
And he gets to stay in this really nice mansion that he rents in Palm Springs. Yeah. It's hard life.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't think it takes that much work to curate the playlist for WWE.
No, but it's
you and I could literally, any of us could do that in an hour and a half.
But it's putting its promotion,
his stamp on that.
Yeah, it's putting his name on it. It's promotion behind it means he has to promote the video game.
Yeah,
and it's also it's an appearance. Which, again, Eminem doesn't like to do things.
He doesn't need the money.
No, he doesn't need the money.
You know, there's also a risk attached to it, too, just because it might not be necessarily his core fan base.
Yeah, right. Booking, and we've always seen booking musical acts for any audience in wrestling is hard because it's such a mishmash of different people. You know, it's hard to get a universally loved person.
What's the best person that they've ever had perform for them?
Ray Charles.
Yeah.
I was going to say Aretha Franklin.
Aretha Franklin.
I mean,
and that's a song everybody likes.
But is that actually the best one?
Well, what do you think's the best one? The DX band at WrestleMania 14?
I was going to say Limp Bizkit, but I also
and now
like
the WWE's favorite band in the entire world.
I did like that. I was like, because whenever I hear that, and I just, being his friend, knowing Fred as long as I have, I was like, yo, he may have asked them to introduce them like that.
Call me your favorite band in the whole world.
Because they've never referred to anybody else that way.
Yeah.
I feel like it probably
but
was
you
pretty
should
easy
talk
for them to
about
get
the
DX.
story.
So, okay, so
when people don't know what we're talking
I can talk a little bit about your involvement with it, right? Like how I sent it over to you.
Sure.
Well, because I mean, like, maybe for anyone who doesn't know more about Jamie beyond this show, like Jamie's dad helped discover Eminem. Right? I mean, I watched the Defiant ones, and
what had happened was just in very short. If you haven't seen the documentary, which I wouldn't fault you if you hadn't, you know,
it's a great documentary. HBO. I would. You should watch it.
It was on. So pretty much, an intern had been to one of the rap battles that Eminem had been in. Got a mixtape. The intern then gave it to. He was. God, this part of the story murky. I always gets murky because he either gave it to Dre, and then Dre didn't do anything with it, but then he gave it to because he didn't hear it, he didn't listen to it, and then he gave it to my dad. And my dad, when he was before there were before obviously like he used computers and stuff like that and iPods and MP3 players, he would be on the treadmill every morning and he would the floor would literally be covered in demos.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It was literally you couldn't see the floor. It was literally just demos and literally enough space for maybe to get to the door. You know,
your dad was actually actually just listening to all the demos he was getting
every morning.
sent?
Every
That's
morning.
fucking wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
Good.
And,
That's insane.
Good. Well, I mean,
that shows why your dad
Yeah,
worked with
why
so
he
many
was where
artists.
it's at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how Eminem came aboard, and then I think either they like he.
Well, in the documentary, he says
that he introduced him to Dre,
Yeah.
and then Dre liked, and then they made a song together. And the first day they made, and then
My Name Is, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history. And
So when I saw the story, I was like pumped. I was like, yeah, cool, like sick. Eminem's gonna be doing
it's a get.
Gonna do a WWE thing.
That's a get.
He's gonna be a character in the game.
And I said to Jake, I honestly thought that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
was I the only one that liked playing as Fred Durst?
No, that was awesome.
People hated that. I'm like,
did you come down in the car too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt most bad for Jamie in this scenario because I know he loves Limp Bizkit and I know he loves Eminem. So like, oh man, my other favorite person is going to be on
my other favorite band in the entire world.
and so I sent it to Jamie and I'm like, hey, like, can you like you're tight with like everyone in Eminem's camp still, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, can you send this over to them? Just ask them if it's true. Like, I want to put it up. He's like, yeah, no problem. And he like, then I get text back from Jamie like a minute later, and it's just like, nope, not true. And I was like, crushed instantly because I mean, you talked to the top
Paul
people
Rosenberg is, I mean, pretty much Eminem's right hand guy. You know, like I mean, Eminem came up with Paul. You know, Paul was his first and only manager he's ever had. And
he's the guy in the skits.
He's the guy in all the Eminem skits. Yeah, he's that Paul Rosenberg. And I asked him directly because he's an old friend. I said, "Yo, is this true?" And he said, "Absolutely not." And there's not a lot Eminem does other than live a normal existence without Paul, okaying it. Because he has his best interests at heart.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
There's
So
really
then
much
Jamie
else
told me that,
to
and
it.
I'm like, well, I guess I'll have to reach out to his people for official comment then, And his people got back to me shortly afterwards, and they said there was a very brief exploratory conversation that involved a third party and 2K Sports, not Eminem's team. It has not gone beyond preliminary discussions, and any reports to the contrary are false. Right now,
which is exactly what Paul told me.
Right now, there are no plans to further pursue it. Which is a bummer. It's funny you guys mentioned the video game thing. I honestly think that was what I was most bummed about. Is I was hoping that we were gonna have like another famous like rapper in a in a video game.
What would his finisher be?
Ooh.
The Mom Spaghetti Slam. I don't know.
That's I was trying to think of.
I did enjoy the Reddit comments that you showed me about it.
Oh man, I loved it. They were like quoting the. I forgot what it said.
I feel like a good Eminem move would be like the Blockbuster. You guys know the Blockbuster?
Yeah, because it doesn't have
obviously.
That's what I always thought. Whenever I was like, whenever I did
one.
my Create a Wrestler, and my move was always the Blockbuster because
your finisher was always the Blockbuster.
Yes, because even as a child, I was realistic. I was like, I probably wouldn't be able to grow up and be
like if Buff Bagwell could do this, I could probably do it. Yeah.
I really did. I got to be honest with you. I was that weird kid that I made realistic movesets for like myself.
Yeah, for sure. But you had to.
I wasn't doing like 450 splashes.
It wasn't like start off with a gorilla press. It's like I'm probably not going to be able to do that.
I've always been the complete opposite in that regard.
Of course,
I've always been
100% strength, 100% everything.
Yeah, 100 strength, as much pyro
the
as
worst
possible.
wrestle.
Yeah, and the most obnoxious entrance, and then all the moves that I definitely would never be able to do.
You're the guy who's just pressing X was a pedigree.
In No Mercy on N64, there was a special move in the Create a Wrestler where you could blow a fireball in people's face, and that was always my special move because I was like, I'll definitely be able to blow a fireball.
But you can obviously do that.
He can control a lot of the elements. Okay, he does voodoo.
What were we talking about the other day that we were like, that's definitely Bayou? Were we talking to you about it?
I
remember I had a whole conversation with Erica the other day about Bayou Bates.
Yeah.
Forget why though.
Was this when we were at the deathmatch show?
Yes, it was.
Can't think of what it was.
We were though, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about Bayou Bates. Damn it, I can't remember.
Well, it'll come back to you.
You would have been appreciative of the conversation.
I appreciate that you even tried to remember.
Yeah, like my finisher right now, like one of them is practical, but the other one's definitely not.
What's the practical one? I want to know what the practical one is.
Well, the practical
it's like a side Russian leg sweep.
No, the practical one is just because I always thought it would be a cool finisher anyways, and then they added the game, and I was like, whoa, I never actually seen anyone do this. This is like the angle slam, but reverse way. So instead of like where the person's looking that way, they'd be looking the
Yeah.
They land on the
like
stomach
an
and
inverted
face.
angle slam, basically. So they slam on their face
Yeah.
instead of their back. And then the other one is like
It's like a torture rack slam.
I think
almost.
I forget. It's something. It's some kind of springboard move. That's for sure. It's,
I had
it's
it.
one of the,
Yeah, well,
it's wild.
Yeah, but anyway, no. Eminem.
Are you still playing 2K?
Yeah. Everyone. Yes. I don't play if I'm sober, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like if it, like.
I don't play any video games.
I think that means that you're not sober. I think that's what the sense
No,
it
I
makes.
mean like, because I usually I play whenever I only play 2K if I'm feeling like creative.
Yeah.
You know, because
Fair enough, okay.
just playing
Sussy.
matches by itself is
not
that
as
part.
fun.
That part is definitely worn its run its course. I mean, the game's been out for a while now.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering.
You know, so yeah, I'm definitely ready for 2K20 whenever that or was this already 2K20?
2K19.
Yeah, no, this is
one was.
2K19. Yeah.
You're already ready for 2K20?
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen for a while, but
It's definitely
I mean,
not.
it will happen though.
yes, it will happen.
Who do you think is the person they could bring back this year? They did Angle in the last one, right? Wasn't it Angle for this last game?
Like, so you're gonna say like bring back both in real life and in the game?
That's a tough one.
I don't remember one out of them.
I don't know.
Like anyone that's marquee, like the person I think is like
Austin's
Ken
really
Shamrock
like,
or something like that.
Yeah,
but that's not really like
Nah,
a
it's not
marquee
big- it's not big enough.
name, you know?
No, he wouldn't be big enough.
I mean, yeah.
What was it? No, this year was Rey
Austin.
Mysterio, wasn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was
I mean, I
this
could
year,
see-
last
I could
year
see
was
them-
Kurt
It was
Angle.
Ray and Ronda this year.
Yeah, and last year was Kurt Angle.
I could see them doing maybe like, I guess if it's not right now, but I was gonna say like Batista. Like, I mean, he's a big
But he's in the game like every year.
He is kind of in the game still every year.
earthquake.
We'll go with Earthquake.
John Tenta. May he rest in peace.
Just all his DLCs, all his incarnations.
So, okay, so this is a crazy video I watched today. Did you guys check out this story I put up about Santino Marella?
I just commented my thoughts into the group chat. That was it.
So you read the article then, or did you
Right,
just
right.
read the headline?
I read part of the article.
I read the article.
I got your opinion. I got your help. I made sure
I read it.
my copy editor over here. I was more so okay. So basically, Santino Marella, he did like a Twitch stream. He does this like Twitch show with Impact Wrestling. The co-host is Alicia Tout, and they were like talking about it's called Behind the Lights. And
Wow,
they-
that's wild. I didn't even know that he said this to a chick. That's wild.
yeah.
That makes it even
Wait,
crazier.
go over it though.
So okay, and the topic of Joey Ryan's upcoming match at United We Stand against Tessa Blanchard comes up, and Santino like does not hold back. Like I was shocked at how
open.
open he was, and I'm not faulting him for it. Like everyone has their own opinions, everyone can feel their own way. Like
Yeah.
I might not agree with him, but I was more so just surprised. And he started off by really the most surprising thing to me was the fact that he was putting down intergender wrestling, because Santino wrestled against women famously. Like
Yeah.
he had Santina, he won the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal.
Do you think those experiences are positive experiences for him now at this point?
I can't tell. So
For his
he-
bank account, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
well, for sure. But I mean,
He's
just
well-
because
turn
you have
that
a lot of
shit
money
down.
doesn't mean that you don't necessarily like look back on a life that you lived and have a regret.
It seems there's two things to it. One is that he says that he believes there's a social responsibility attached to entertainment, and that he feels like because wrestling blurs the line between reality and fiction, that some people do take it real, and that he feels that it's possible it could influence a girl who maybe can't hold her own against a bigger guy to think that she can and stand up to them, and then get knocked out and, and get badly hurt.
Are you talking about a girl in real life,
Real
or
life.
a
In
girl
real
in
life.
the
A
wrestling?
girl
No,
in
in
real
real
life
life.
might watch, and this is what he says.
Okay.
That he believes a girl in real life might watch intergender wrestling and get inspired by it to stand up to someone in her real life
Yeah.
who is much bigger and stronger than her, thinking that, well, I saw this small girl do it,
Yeah.
I can do it too, and then get badly injured, and he feels like the blame would be placed on the wrestlers who influenced her to do it. That's one fold.
Yeah.
That's part of it. The other is definitely believability. I
Yeah.
think that it's definitely the old school mentality of like, he doesn't believe that the image of a small girl beating up a big guy is believable, and they kind of talk about when Tessa Blanchard and Brian Cage went up against each other, and how it was kind of like not believable. But he was like, if there's a really big girl against a smaller guy, I can believe that a little more. It's a little more believable. And he talks about Beth Phoenix.
Yeah.
And he says Beth Phoenix was a really big. He calls her a big thing. He says she was a big thing.
I mean, I think that his argument that he's making probably comes from like what he thinks is like an actual positive place and everything like that.
Agreed.
But the size thing doesn't necessarily work, because how can Rey Mysterio beat Batista? You know, to that regard.
Right.
It's like Rey Mysterio is clearly.
I was about to say that applies to anybody.
Yeah.
I like their shit.
Like,
I mean, a few nights where I thought I could probably take on a few people at a bar, and that's definitely not true.
Jamie, what's going on
I'm
with
sure
you?
there's some people. You work out.
That doesn't mean you can fight.
You
No,
do
it
boxing
doesn't.
classes every week.
That's true.
But wait, the part where he's talking about like the beginning of it, where can you read the beginning?
Yeah, he
of this
says,
again?
if there's a girl out there that says, this guy's giving us attitude, I'm going to step in and fight this guy because I saw that woman can fight men because of intergender wrestling, and she goes out there and lips off, and this guy's a mental case, and he just cracks her with his fist and shatters an orbital and busts her lip, and she wouldn't have done it perhaps beforehand because she didn't get this inflated sense of confidence because of intergender wrestling.
That happens to anybody who's drunk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I saw it happen weekly when I went to University of Arizona.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, if you were referring to children, I could understand it, but the situation he's describing is clearly not children. That's why he's talking. I mean, he could bend it and say that it is, but the thing is that if you're referring to children, yeah, like maybe there is a social responsibility in making sure that, you know, a first grader doesn't go up to a first grade girl doesn't go up to a third grade boy and start some crap between them because they're not, mature enough to, and evolved enough on that level to actually manage that situation. In terms of adults, though, I don't think that a rational adult would ever go up to somebody that's bigger than them that could clearly wipe the floor with them and start something just because they saw it on pro wrestling.
I also have a hard time believing that anyone would be that influenced from watching it in pro wrestling and think like, I could obviously beat someone up.
Have you ever gone,
regardless of the gender?
Have you ever gone up to somebody who is like twice as big as you and threatened to fight them? No.
Never.
That's never happened to any of us.
I feel like you have.
No way.
I think you have.
I've never,
I think
never
you
a
have.
little drunk. You've never said, hey mother effer.
Not unless there was somebody big with me who is bigger than the person. No, I'm not a fool. My dad was a big person, and I saw him like get into some scraps.
Yeah, but you're also
so.
like real confident in your ability to
Yeah.
fight.
What if they were coming straight at you and
No,
you're like,
I'm not.
look,
I'm not going to fight
motherfucker.
somebody who's 100 pounds
This is a
heavier than me.
four-way
Case closed.
stop.
I would never do that. If I talked trash and then realized they were big, I'd apologize immediately because I'd realize I was outmatched. Because in real life, I can't beat somebody who's 100 pounds bigger than me. It's not possible.
Just feel like drunk Eli might tell a big person he'd light him up.
I'm gonna light you up,
I'm gonna light
motherfucker.
you up.
I would
You,
not.
you should turn the other way, the other direction right now.
I would say, I'm going to light you up and then see how big they were. And I'd be like, pardon me, kind sir, can you get out of the way? I was talking trash to somebody just past you.
That was very tiny
They must have
person
ran
over
away.
there.
Anyways, can I buy you Jack in the Box?
Not even just tacos. I'll get you the meal.
Whatever you want.
It's munchie meal time right now.
Are you really? You think you're really gonna do the Survivor thing?
Why not? Like after I leave here tonight, I'm gonna go climb that mountain over there.
They've casted
What?
more.
There's a mountain, Verdugo Peak, right over
why?
here.
Are you really doing
Because I'm trying to get in the best shape of my life, and it's important to.
So you were you already planning on doing that?
Yeah, I've got my hiking underwear inside of my bag.
wait.
Hiking
Need some clarification
underwear?
here. You have specific hiking underwear?
I kinda
It
Yeah.
probably
see it.
smells terrible.
No, I just cleaned it.
Can we see it? I
Yeah.
want to see what the hiking underwear looks like. Oh,
Why
no.
is it in a laptop? But it's not even in a
It's
bag.
my work laptop.
Is it just like tighter? Is that why?
It's not even
But it's
in a
got like
bag.
this. It's got this thing in the front, so that
It's for your nuts.
No,
Your
it's to make sure. Yeah, but it's to make sure that you don't get like thigh rub while you're on a furious hike. And they're like
Furious.
So it's like a penis cup that's kind of there.
Yeah, they're really awesome.
All right.
Penis cups are really cool,
You
man.
know,
Hey, they've casted worse people.
Then
Yeah.
Eli?
Yes.
No, Eli would be,
I gotta
I
say,
think,
Eli
a
would be
valuable
perfect
person
for
on
this
it. He'd be
show.
perfect for Survivor.
Thank you.
I've been telling Eli since I started watching
No,
Naked
he's
and Afraid
perfect. He's
that he'd be
perfect.
perfect for Naked and Afraid.
He would.
But now that
Yeah,
I
you got
know
a nice
that he's
butt,
like
dude.
wants just kind of like this is about being naked. He won't be able to wear his hiking underwear and stuff when he's doing it.
Definitely bring that with
It would almost be
you.
better if he did.
I'm like, sorry, I'm a little
He's the
shy.
only one just wearing the underwear.
I'm so shy. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
This has a little penis cup.
I'm like, I swallowed my hiking underwear before I left, and then I pooped them out when I got here so that I could have them. But I washed them.
Eli, so when you're on Survivor and you go to the finale, you have to take me and my mom.
Okay.
Handshake.
Yeah, sure.
I'm always amazed that people can sit in the jungle naked for that
Dude,
long.
there was
Yo.
one where they were in like fucking Alaska.
Yeah,
And
I don't know how they do
snow.
it.
They're just falling like dick first into the snow.
And there's like bugs everywhere.
No,
and
there was
stuff.
one episode I was watching last night where they were like the woman's like was like, there's literally hasn't been 1 second where I haven't had a bug on me. Like it's like, she had to tap. She had enough.
Dude, when my dogs have fleas, I get freaked the fuck
Oh,
out.
it's the worst. Oh, we hate. Ugh.
So when
On
I'm
my
on
legs?
when I'm on the show, should I do like a voice the entire time?
Do what voice?
Like
I want
do
you to
any-
make it-
do a voice.
I want you to make it to the end.
Oh, obviously, I know what voice you have to do the whole time.
Hayden?
You have to be Hayden walking.
Yeah. Come on. I want to win this challenge, master.
What if you just did it all in Sailor Vin's voice?
I can do it. I don't, okay,
Would you buy you? Could you do? You could do a fake
Ooh,
Australian.
yeah. I can do Australian for sure.
We've
But like,
talked
sure.
about
Well,
no
we
wrestling
just-
this episode.
we landed on the island and immediately made a bed in the tippy top of the jungle. I want to make sure that I'm above the rain if possible.
This episode has got us under.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
Apologies.
okay. I miss
Where
having the whole crew back. It's
where
like
are
it's like the radio days where we got to just do whatever
Yeah.
we just gonna say whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Collider.
I gotta say though, for what he's saying though in the story, going back to the story.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Kevin.
Santino, like, if a woman's inspired to even step up to somebody though, why is that a bad thing? Like, to
Well,
defend
he's saying that it could
like,
get shit kicked out of her.
But, like-
and I'm not saying he's wrong or right. I'm just saying that's what he's saying. That's to answer your question.
Very well, it could happen, but at the same time, like, I don't know, nothing wrong with someone being confident enough to like actually fend for themselves.
And that's kind of what I saw some of the replies to the story say. A lot of people were like, this is super, like, if someone's in an abusive relationship and is thinking of standing up, like, all you're doing is telling them not to, and that's
Right.
terrible. And it does kind of feel like he in his opinion, he feels like, because women are smaller, that men are supposed to protect them. That's
Yeah.
kind of like his old school mentality.
I think that what you touched on about protecting the business is heavily prevalent here. Even if these guys can't see that they're doing that and what they're saying and everything, I think there's a bravado that's attached to it because these are not even people who just work in the industry; they are the wrestlers themselves. So there's probably a big part of it, a machismo factor that they have, like all the guys who have been here all along. That they're just like they see the changing of the guard taking place too. So there's even if they're not negatively attempting to do so, there probably is some kind of like. Deep down, they are trying to protect their spots in the business, maybe too.
Yeah, nope, I could definitely see that. He points out, because I think a lot of times people say, well, what, Captain Marvel is gonna convince some girl that she can beat up a bunch of people, like those kinds of things. Well, she's a super strong girl, like what's the difference? And he basically says that it's different because those movies, like the women are clearly like super powered, quote unquote, like they have superpowers.
Black Widow doesn't have superpowers.
True. But she's not going up against like a Hulk. She's
She
going up
was
against
fighting all sorts of people in Infinity War.
superpowered people.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's all of Thanos' children.
That is true.
She fought all of them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And she was victorious.
Suck that, Santino.
Okay, so then his other thing that he talks about is transgender women in sports, and he says there's cases now in MMA and wrestling where there's trans girls that were born boys that are beating the shit out of females, and that's wrong. If you're a guy, born a guy, and you become a woman, you're accepted everywhere. But in the field of actual competitive sport, there has to be a barrier, and the barrier is based on, sorry, you were born a goddamn man. You're accepted as a human being and as a person, and you are loved in every single way, except it's not fair that you compete against women in sports because you were born with different physical, biological attributes, and we have to be realistic about it. We also have to not be so sensitive.
Whoa, this is a can of worms I don't really feel like touching.
there was a way to phrase that because I do think that there's some substance in what he's saying.
Okay.
But it's hard to hear somebody saying but you're loved and respected and everything as a side note. I think that's probably
we're dancing all over the place on this line here.
It's just,
well, no, I don't think there's that much of a line here. I'm not as uncomfortable talking about it because I think that You know, I also remember this was a big topic when Fallon Fox was doing MMA, where it was like, well, but she was born a man, so it's unfair for her to fight women. But I think the difference, well, cis women, I think the difference is that this is professional wrestling where it's predetermined.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they're working together. It's not a competitive sport.
Yeah.
Like, it's a sport, you know, in terms of it being an athletic competition, but they're not competing for real. Like,
Yeah.
they're not, it's predetermined.
Yeah.
They're not actually trying, you know, unless they're taking, you know, liberties with each other, they're not actually trying to do
me, it's
they're
always
working
been,
together.
It's always whenever somebody questions believability in wrestling, it's always been funny to me because I'm like, I think you can make whatever you want believable.
Yes. Well, it's just like acting. It's no different than like there's shitty actors when you watch a movie that has shitty acting in it and shitty directing. You're gonna notice, and it's gonna take you out of the element. You know, the whole fun is trying to convince you, is trying to make you forget that you're watching something
Like
that isn't real.
imagine just 5 years before, before the Undertaker Kane angle, before all the like with the lightning and the back from the dead and like all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Imagine telling a person like a person in charge that we're gonna do this. It'd be like, that's not
You're
what?
ruining the business.
Yeah, that's insane.
Totally.
And fast forward, it's in my opinion one of the greatest angles in wrestling history. You know, and I think the same applies to this. It just applies. I don't think one thing is more believable than the other. It just depends on who's portraying it.
Also,
you know?
it's not like there's going to be just this infusion of dozens and dozens of you know, like of transgender people getting in the ring all of a sudden. Like, I mean, this is a very small percentage at this point, and likely it will remain a smaller percentage. I'm not saying as small as it is right now, but it will remain. The thing is that you almost need to allow these things to happen to continue to normalize these things. It's not unbelievable if it's already happened, you know? So it's just like, but it has to happen once.
And you know what's going to happen in wrestling? Hey, that in AEW, that new trans woman who's
Nyla
Rose, yes. She'll probably be like a big bruiser for a while, but somebody will beat her, and she will be a woman, and that will be believable.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, and that's and then she'll win some more, and that like everybody else in the roster. You know, that's what happens.
And just like an entertainment, like in general, like it's a scripted environment. Like there's nothing wrong with that being a thing.
It's not like it's going to affect it one way or the other.
No.
I think it's even with like non-scripted sports where. I mean, he's not an expert with what a person that's transgender goes through. So, like, testosterone levels are being diluted and raised depending on what you're doing and what your transition is. So, even in regular sports, in MMA, like, that's going to be a big difference. That levels the playing field of what he's trying to say is different. It's not different at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
This is not necessarily like a news story that we're discussing here. But I just want to get your guys' opinion. So, first, like, do you feel like the whole Becky Lynch thing has cooled off a little bit because of their booking of the angle? Because yesterday, I tweeted and I basically said something along the lines of like, you know, I've heard that the main event is still not set in stone, and I know this is like not crazy breaking news. The main event's not set in stone yet, although. You'd kind of think with like 3 weeks to go, you might know at this point which match is going to close the show.
4 or 5 cards that are set for the show.
Yeah.
For the 8-9 hour show.
But, you know, I had kind of assumed that the women were for sure locked in this year, just based on like it being the right time, the right moment. It might not happen again. But from what I've been told by people, it's that it's not 100% locked in. The women are going to close the show. And I said kind of something along the lines of like, do you think there's going to be major fan outrage because it's been so telegraphed that they're going to...
I mean, they've said main event
so many times with them. And I was like, do you think there's going to be major fan outrage if they don't? And I was surprised that the answer was no from a lot of people. Was like, no, I actually think Kofi and Daniel Bryan should main event now. They really cooled off the Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair.
A lot has changed over the past 2 weeks, it seems like.
Totally, right?
Just like obviously with Kofi, but also with the Roman Reigns' return and everything.
Ronda Rousey's character.
Yeah.
I personally think that I think that what they got going on with Kofi and Daniel Bryan is hot, But I think that there's a lot of fans that are kind of, I don't know, feigning the excitement when it felt. It kind of felt feigned when they had the showdown with Vince in the ring. I don't know. It just like took a while for them to kind of like, all right, guys, this is where you're supposed to cheer for Kofi.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe so in that city. But WrestleMania night is different.
True.
That's
That's true. That's very true.
And if they have him come out to some dope entrance, much like you said, like if they do some sort of crazy callback to his original, which I don't know if they'll do.
They got to.
But he's clearly not Jamaican anymore.
Yeah, he still had the SOS song for way after he was doing the Jamaican thing.
That would be so sick if he came out to that.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, well, if he did like a mix of like New Day's theme and SOS, that'd be rad.
But well, anyway, but that would be a great moment, and it would feel good. Good. I mean, this doesn't. I mean, I would argue maybe if Roman didn't come back, because Roman coming back and telling him slay the beast, Dean saying slay the beast, that's an interesting story.
It
now.
is.
That's a very interesting story, and I think people finally. I think, Brock hasn't gone out. Brock has won every WrestleMania he's been in.
Yeah.
In the past few years. I mean, not since he's come back, but in the past 4 or 5,
since Taker, right?
Yeah, since WrestleMania 30.
I think so.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting sight. Seeing.
So do you think? So you think that people?
That's a crazy image to go out on. Seth standing over Brock Lesnar. That's a crazy
with
image.
the fists, like, because you probably would get that picture, but. I don't know. I don't think that as far as Becky Lynch goes, I don't think
I haven't
that's
addressed
cooled
that
off.
yet.
I think that maybe Ronda's cooled it off just because of the character change, but I don't think that there's any cool off on Becky.
You think it's been on that it's Ronda that's cooled off?
Not Becky. I don't think it's Becky.
I disagree. I think it's the people, because here's my opinion on Becky. Austin, because she always gets this comparison to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
So let's bring it to that.
They're trying to do it picture in picture, Brad.
Yeah, let's do it here then. Austin, as great as he is, it's one of the greatest of all time, had excellent dancing partners.
Yeah.
Always. Whether it be a young Bret Hart going out, a young Rock, Vince, a more established Rock. He always had great dancing partners. Triple H.
Savio Vega.
Yeah, even him. Ronda, even though not Ronda, I'm sorry, Becky, even though she has good talent put with her, Charlotte and Ronda are good talent. There aren't enough good players to be put with Becky. She's already, even though she hasn't even wrestled Ronda yet, she's already beat her. And both the stick and obviously she's going to win. Unless that Ronda does decide to just stick around for a little longer.
That's been my problem with all of it. And I said this on the other shows when we talk about this feud. But, like, it just feels like they're putting... It feels like they forgot... They didn't... They're acting as though Becky Lynch isn't already over. And so they're trying to do all these things to get Becky Lynch over.
I don't think they've
when
done
she's
enough.
already over. Really?
Yeah, I disagree. I think
slapped Vince.
She's done
Triple H
a lot.
Stephanie.
No, she's done a lot. I'm not saying hasn't done anything. She's definitely done a lot. I just think that in terms of, she's been off TV. Well, first off, she's been on TV a lot, which you could also argue Austin had the same handicap. He was off TV for almost a whole year with his neck injuries.
Yeah.
It's just
it's not the same, but yeah.
It's not the same thing, a different injury. But I just don't think Becky's had enough people to dance with. Austin always had that higher thing to challenge. Yeah. Whether I'm dealing with Vince right now. Oh, but the Ministry of Darkness.
But she hasn't beaten Ronda yet.
You know what? One of the issues that I've had with it is, like, I think whether it's cooled off or not, I think is irrelevant. I think that they've focused a lot on it, and I think maybe there's only so much that a wrestling fan can consume before they get a little tired of it. This rivalry has been going across both Raw and SmackDown now for like 2 months. This is not Austin's era anymore. This is an era where people are consuming an absurd amount of WWE content. So I think having them in there all the time, it's like you do almost get a feeling like, come on, just get to the match already.
I think that's what I'm saying.
Fair enough.
I think that's why I'm more so like, okay, she's only really been dealing with these two people. And it's for the entirety of the man thing.
And for the most of it, it's been with this limp, for a lot of it. And I think the limp kind of makes her character seem a little weak almost.
A little limp?
Austin didn't limp when he was gone. He was able to do shit, And I'm not.
I like that only if you're watching on YouTube, you got to see me and Eli do a finger wave at each other.
And I'm not. And you know, like it's the timing is good. You know, maybe if it is waiting, I'm not saying. I don't know if it is. I truly don't know.
I think it'd be a huge waste if they don't put this in the main event because like they may not. They may. Huh?
The women.
Correct.
Okay.
Because you may not have a build this big and this good and a player to the height of like Ronda Rousey involved too for a while. Yeah. You know, you can always bring somebody in for WrestleMania, but Ronda's been there for a year. She was at last WrestleMania, so she's ridden the whole year through with this and everything. It's building to a crescendo. If you don't do it with this match, it might be a long time before you get a chance to do it where it doesn't feel too telegraphed.
So final question then. If it doesn't main event, do you think fans will be really pissed? Will there be outrage?
Man, I mean, people find a reason to be pissed at everything.
Even if they main event, they're gonna be like, of course they put him on when we're all super tired of watching the show already. Oh yeah, put it on hour 7. Thanks, Vince.
We're all in the bathroom now.
I already did have a bunch of people reply to the tweet saying stuff like that, like, yeah, I don't want them to end the show. I'd rather it be not everyone's tired. And
I'd rather they be on the pre-show so I make sure I catch it.
I don't know. Maybe were we jumping up and down and excited and hugging each other when Seth Rollins came out, even though we were fucking exhausted when he cashed in? Like,
yeah, but WrestleMania's gotten even longer since then.
Hasn't it? Or were you just drunk?
I don't know. It's been like
double, Brian. And I have the receipts to prove it.
Okay, let's talk about also. So Roman Reigns talked a little bit about when he's going to be coming back full time. Because right now, obviously, he's back on TV, but I think it's kind of like been one of the big questions is like, well, what's going to be his deal? Like, is he a part-time performer now? But then I believe he got announced for the European tour, and people were like, well, that's a good sign. And so basically, he said that they're really just easing into things right now. He said, right now, we're just on a TV schedule, and obviously our big events. But he's really looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. And then he said, I think we're going to take care of me and just be smart and just slowly introduce me back to the full schedule. And then hopefully post-Mania, once we get through our big events internationally, hopefully then he'll be able to be able to do like 30-minute main events at that point and be able to come back to action.
Super reasonable.
Yeah.
It seems like the best plan for that WWE's ever handled with any of their talent.
And you know, he can still be part of a big WrestleMania moment too. Like that's the beauty of like this year is like he's not directly attached to anything yet.
I really wonder who he's gonna be wrestling.
Man, that's wild because, dude, when I was in remission, the after effects are still there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stay awake past 9 o'clock.
Really?
No, I couldn't. I was just like,
exhausted.
Exhausted. Like I would make like after I was in remission, I was like, I'm gonna go fucking celebrate. Like I'm gonna go get wasted and shit. Like I'd be at like 8 o'clock, 8:30, and I'd like fall asleep. Like it just like I had no energy.
Yeah, you're still recovering.
Yeah. And
so at that point, you're not taking any.
I was on nothing.
You're on nothing at that point,
I was on
right?
nothing. It was just the after effects of the radiation treatment.
Yeah.
But also watching WWE Chronicle with Romans, he did something that this is a fairly new development in cancer treatment, which is what he talked about, which is oral chemotherapy, which was not around when I had cancer, which is, you know, it may not affect your body the same way as it did. I mean, I didn't have chemotherapy whatsoever. I had radiation, different, but it still wears on your body. And maybe that may not be the case anymore. He may not make. He may be ready to rock now, which I don't. Which, if any case, is insane to me because I remember how that felt, and that sucked.
This whole oral chemotherapy thing, since you brought it up, I was so like blown away by Meltzer I hate calling. I hated calling someone out. I really did. I hated it so much. I'm trying so hard not to do that anymore.
You know what kind of pissed me off?
What?
You've been doing really great.
I've been trying so hard not to do it, and I know people. You're a good friend of mine. You've dealt with cancer. Like my step grandma growing up died of cancer. Like I know people who've dealt with cancer, and I watched the interview, and he did this like full sit down interview for the people who were questioning the authenticity of his chemo or of his treatment and of his cancer. For those people, he did this sit-down interview for them, to please them, to let everyone know what he's been dealing with. And he gave away so much information, way more information than he had to give. And then I hear this thing of Meltzer where he's just saying that he basically says something along the lines of like, well, Roman says that he's taking oral chemotherapy, but but I don't think that's what it is. And
Based off of what, dude?
from talking to doctors, he said, from like talking to doctors that know about this kind of treatment, they say this is what you'd be getting. But it's frustrating because it's like you don't know that, and he basically said, in my opinion, when you say something like that, and there's already this swirl of people that are
Already being assholes and doubting it.
correct. You're like stoking those flames. Like you're adding fuel to that fire. Like you're literally just being like, well, yeah, you guys who already think he's a liar, just know he's also lying about his treatment. And it's like, that's literally just kind of like poking the bear. You know, it's trying to, and I don't think it's intentional, but that's what it does.
Well,
and
he also doubled down on it recently.
Yeah, I know. Well, first he like made it seem like he was apologizing and owning up to his mistake.
But then, like, somebody tweeted something, and then he said, "Makes you think, doesn't it?" Like,
well, so here's since you brought it up. He said, I should probably pull. I didn't think we were gonna talk, but I'll pull it up. He said
he's too busy telling people how to read than he's doing all his listening. You know.
What's the date today? March 14th. Sorry for the boring audio for 1 second. I'm just pulling it up. Meltzer tweets a lot. I'm not one to talk. He says, on the range treatment, there are different options that include a pill that is oral chemo, and that is what he said he was taking, and there's no reason to believe that. And there's no reason not to believe that, so I stand corrected on that. Which I thought was him...
Like kind of conceding defeat.
Right?
All right, you got me.
But then, like what Jamie was just saying... He went back on it. Like, he said, I have a tweet right here because someone sent it to me. He said, first, he said, someone wrote him and they said, I just don't understand why WWE had to be so vague and deceitful about his condition. I don't understand what was the secret. He's a public figure and WWE, a publicly traded company. We needed to know his severity of his leukemia. That's all we asked.
That's all.
We need to know your medical records. Show us the medical records.
That's it.
That's all we need.
There's a better word to use there than need. You don't need that.
You don't. And you know what?
That's it.
And the reaction you all had is like the reaction I would think a normal person would have to that.
Like, what?
But he responded, he quote tweeted and he said, "You already know the answer to that question." Which is like implying that they're doing it for sympathy, right? Like that's what you're supposed to get from that, right?
Yep, that's what I got.
And then the other thing is someone said, someone said, also, does anyone else find it odd that all of a sudden all of these WWE contracted talent constantly have problems with Dave Meltzer? And he said, the office isn't telling anyone to do anything. They just got incited by people who took things out of context and tried to inflame them.
Ryan.
If person after person lied to me and said a reporter said my cousin's cancer was fake, I'd probably react the same way. Which I'd just like to say, I did not. My tweet did not say that Dave said that Meltzer or that Roman's cancer was fake. My tweet said that he claimed that Roman wasn't being honest about his treatment.
Yeah.
That's what he said in the audio. He was very clear in the audio about it. And then Nia's tweet also, the only talent who tweeted about it was Nia Jax. And she also didn't say anything about the cancer part of things, or about faking cancer, quote unquote. She said, Dave Meltzer's a piece of shit. The fact that you make statements about people's health when you have zero knowledge about it is ridiculous. If you do have access to superstars' personal medical info, that's a huge violation of HIPAA, and I'm sure that's not the case, so shut your mouth. Wow. I don't think that she's... I mean, maybe it's about... it's about...
The treatment.
The treatment. Like, it's not about... I don't read that as the...
No.
Crazy. I don't... the whole thing blew my mind. Like, and the fact that he pretended to own up to it and then just went right back on it, like, just blew my mind, man. Because it's like, I don't know, man.
This is fucking real. We've talked about like the fakes. We've talked about the scripted sport of wrestling.
Yes.
This is real fucking life.
I mean, just like I said in my tweet, like, it's okay to talk. Like, it's one thing to speculate about storylines, matches that are going to happen, quote unquote heat that someone has in the locker room.
Even like standard injuries, but a disease.
But speculating on the treatment, speculating that someone is lying about the treatment for their cancer when they're on the record talking about it.
Yeah.
And they could be telling the truth because that is a way to treat it.
I'm genuinely curious what about this was vague.
Right?
There was nothing vague about it.
He said he
We
literally
need to see you take the pills. Can we see?
like he literally laid
Can
out
I
the
take one of the
entire
pills?
sequence of his treatment on Chronicle.
We need to see this pill go from being created, from being separated, to being put in the bottle, and then right into your digestive tract. We need to see all that happen in order to really believe you.
Just so I don't get accused of being taking things out of context again. Here's what he said. Hold on.
I like when Ryan says,
Just a second here.
But it's just the reality of it. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get all these people really upset. But it's just the reality of it. So he says that he couldn't get off the couch for months. He was so tired. He was, when he's taking the treatment, he's lying on the couch all day. He couldn't really play with his kids. Things like that. The thing is that how did he do that movie if he was lying on the couch for months? He was only gone for 4 months, and the movie took a couple of months, so it wasn't that much time.
Well, I mean, did he say that he did the movie for months?
But he did.
So we know that he did the movie for months.
could have been a fucking day.
The movie was 3 months of shooting.
Well, sure, but
Yeah.
but there's a lot of movies where there's 3 months of shooting, but you're not
Thank you,
necessarily
Brian
on
Alvarez.
set for 3
Yeah,
months.
like what the fuck? He's in one scene.
But he did.
They've been- Yeah.
He could have been there for 3 weeks there at the end.
He could have been there for a day.
Yeah, seriously.
Never
Day
brought
shoot,
up-
dude.
The whole key, what I was going to say about the special is that no matter what, on the special, he never did a movie. It was never said. It was like he was exhausted for months.
Because he's not making any money off of
There
it.
was no movie. There was no intermediate
Vince
period.
isn't.
He felt better, and then he got cleared, and now he's back. So he never brought, which I thought is we know he did a movie. So I don't know why they didn't say it, but for whatever reason, and obviously there is a reason, but that was very clearly left out of this thing. So that was the one deal.
I don't know, maybe they just figured if we tell people he's making a movie, we're going to have these weird people thinking it's fake.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when those pictures came out on the movie set, there were definitely people that thought it was fake, even though it was not.
It's not fake, and the disease that he had, CML. I mean, and it is serious, but it's not like I mentioned. There was a NHL player who had the same thing.
Oh, wait, so then it gets into the clip that I actually tweeted initially.
It is serious,
And then we're done here.
But
Because everyone's affected the same way
not
from things.
like I mentioned, there was a NHL player who had the same thing he had in the 2007 season who did not miss one game. He played every game while on this. And hockey is a pretty damn demanding sport. So everyone's different, and he didn't take, he actually said the pill was oral chemotherapy, but I don't think it was. Because the pill that I was talking about, which is a new pill, and that's what he said, he didn't give the name of it, like I said, but, this is they usually don't use, the treatment of this is usually not chemotherapy or radiation.
So I don't understand how that was taken out of context by anybody. It was perfectly in context, I
Dude,
think.
Well, I mean, one of the things he's claimed. First off, one of the most asinine things I heard of on that thing was that he's claiming that one of the biggest key factors that Roman may not be saying everything is truthful. Not that he's lying outright, but that
Yes.
he's not being truthful.
Correct.
Is that he did this movie? First off, you're not comatose when you're going through this stuff.
You have good days, you have bad days.
Exactly. And he says, "Oh, but this movie's shooting for 3 months." Dude, he's not a main character of the movie.
I feel like it's probably
Could be on for a
part of
day,
an
2 days.
introduction of The Rock's character in the movie at the beginning of the movie or something
in the
like
interview I
that.
listened to Roman Reigns today, he said that they delve into The Rock's characters, his Samoan heritage,
Yeah.
and so it seems like it seems like he's
Like
in a
he's
few
going to be
roles, a
like
few
the
scenes.
Rock's buddy or family
His
member
family
in the
member.
movie.
and you can knock that out depending on
A
the
week.
screen time.
A day, yeah.
It depends on, if it's just an introduction in a certain part of the movie, you're right. It's probably a day, maybe a couple days.
Also, I want to say,
Depending on the set.
Like
If
his-
it's one set.
from what I recall, there were pictures from day one when he got to Hawaii because people were taking pictures with him, and when he left. I want to say he was there for 1 month. I'm also pretty sure he was there on vacation with his family as well.
Yeah, he wasn't
and
shooting
doing
the entire
treatment.
time.
He was not shooting that whole month.
fucking
He was in
relaxing,
Hawaii
dude.
for a month, you know, like, and he was
Taking
taking
it
it easy. Shot a few scenes with his cousin, and then bounced. It's not
A bunch of those photos of fans taking pictures with him were at hotels.
It wasn't a hotel.
Yeah.
It was a resort.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you do
shooting
the
the movie the whole
timeline,
time.
he says, I watched the Chronicle. He says I was on the couch for a few months. Okay, so that could be 2 months. Then he finally started getting into it. Went to Hawaii. Was in Hawaii for a month. Worked out the whole time he was in Hawaii. Then had another month to keep going, and then was back. That's very easily in the timeline, and doesn't make it look like he's lying about
Not at all.
anything.
Not at all.
So I just don't
Also,
get
like
it.
just comparing like two people that went through the same thing and be like, whoa, if this guy could do this, why can't this guy? Because it affects everything. Affects
the
people differently.
main character-
Your cologne affects people differently because of how your body
Hey,
works.
the main character, unfortunately, of Spartacus had the same cancer I had, and he's dead. You know?
Crazy.
Yeah, same shit. It's like it's different across the board.
Yep.
Across the board.
Yeah.
That was the most Meltzer's ever been on this show.
Yeah, that is.
Wow.
I was just frustrated with that one this weekend.
That
And
was-
Jamie brought up the treatment thing, and it just got me on a tangent. I try not to talk about it, but that did bother me this week. And
Yeah.
the fact that it was just kind of like, well, Ryan took it out of context, and it was like,
Bro, you
what?
have. I
Like,
mean,
I don't know how I did that. Like, I had no reason to take his words out of context. I just didn't like. See, could you imagine if I had done that? Like, I couldn't even imagine. I'd be excommunicated by people. I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I don't know. Because if anyone did that, I shouldn't say me, anyone in the wrestling community did that.
We're all
Like,
been
imagine
affected.
Leo Rush tweeted, "Oh, he faked that shit."
Right?
Oh my God, dude, fired immediately.
Any wrestler
And
said
probably
that,
never work again.
never work again. I'm just saying, like, that's definitely things people cancel people for, and I understand, and I'm not saying that should happen to Meltzer. I'm just shocked that nobody seemed to care. I really was.
It's we've all been touched by somebody who's been infected by cancer, and everyone in this room, of course, because we have Jamie as a friend. But if you haven't, like, lucky for you, but there are people in this world that are being constantly affected by this on a daily basis, and it's just to make so light of it is fucking insane.
I give Meltzer's comments 2.5 stars. No, 1.5.
That's better. That's
Within
better.
2.5 from the Tokyo Dome, though.
Jamie, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at JAMIE_IOVINE or on Instagram at JAMIE. Did I say that right? JAMIEIOVINE. And
It's right across the screen.
yeah,
So you're
I
good.
should
It is on the screen now.
read the bottom, or you could just see our weekly, either weekly or bi-weekly drops on the network. That's the shopping app that me and my fellas have developed, and we have some really dope shit coming up. Actually, I'll show you guys some after we're done. But
The one thing you told me is pretty rad.
yeah.
So
yeah, there's
Yeah.
another one that I forgot to mention. But yeah, or every time you tune in to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, me and Upper Class, Heather Monroe, Double Platinum, Royce Isaacs, we're all there.
I saw Suede Dienzo'd himself.
Yeah.
It looks much better.
Yeah,
Without
he
the whole
looks.
Enzo thing.
He looks very clean. He looks like money now.
He does look like money now. Eli, where can people find you at? Actually, wait. I know you got a lot to say, so Kevin, where can people find you at?
You guys can find me at Kevin Gets Red on Instagram and Twitter, right here below. Subscribe up there, right?
No, let's drive down there, too.
Is that up there too?
Nah, I think it's just down there. Eli, what about you?
Twitter at Elijah Bates. Instagram at Brindlebeard.
You can find me. I'm at Ryan Satin on social media. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. That's where you can find all these videos. The Raw and Smackdown recaps we do. Wrestling Sheet Radio. All sorts of fun stuff. YouTube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. Also, the website, ProWrestlingSheet.com. That's where you can find all these stories and more throughout the week. ProWrestlingSheet.com. At Wrestling Sheet on all social media. Also, if you want to listen to the audio while you're driving, if you're one of those awesome people watching via YouTube, but sometimes you just can't always tune in there, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast feed as well. It's on Podcast One, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's it. We're done. Officially tapping out for now. Until next time, stay out of the dirt and keep your eye on the sheet.